last night, I mean, the results of that game, Paulie, and Jacksonville went off as a huge favorite, double-digit favorites last night at home. They lost outright. The game flies over the total. All 3 primetime games this week finally go over the total. So that team, with a win, think about this. This morning, the Jags would have been the 1 seed in the AFC. They go from losing out on that to losing their star quarterback for who knows how long. Maybe we'll get some news on that here pretty soon this morning. They're now in danger of not winning their division, and I would go one step further to say if that guy is out somehow to play non-playoff team.
Well, at least CJ looked good when he got in there. The other thing, it was a disgrace defensively. Would you look at that?
That's what concerned me a lot.
Yeah. A backup quarterback came in and had success. Wow.
Surprise, surprise.
To prepare. Oh, how about that?
And now Jacksonville, if they qualify for the playoffs, so they're not good enough, right? If Lawrence can't play, get him out?
Yeah, right. Browning goes 32 of 37, and the only reason they didn't win in regulation was because of Zach Taylor, with 2 atrocious calls where Chase and Boyd are asked to throw the ball. That handed Jacksonville.
Well, how about the decisions right away in the first quarter? He's being ultra aggressive, going for it.
Right, then take the points.
Yeah.
Tries the long field goal. I don't know why you called the timeout there late as well. So in spite of Zach Taylor, they still get the win. Cincinnati quarterbacks to win a road night game in the last 25 years. Andy Dalton and Browning. You can't make it up.
Wow.
And this suddenly, if he plays and looks like that, you can't dismiss this team as they get to 500 with the win. But the first thing is the health of Lawrence. Can we get the guy a cart, please? Where is the cart to get him to the locker room? And it didn't look good. He tried to stand up, and then he fell right back down. It's a bad ankle. Nothing would surprise me today. Fingers crossed. I got Jacksonville futures coming out of my ears. If it was 2 weeks, you say, we'll take it. It could be a month. Who knows? Their schedule's very easy. They're favored in Cleveland. But certainly you got a shot in the arm because Beathard looked pretty good when he was in there and they moved the ball. But you cannot lose that game. Can't lose that game.
The defense was alarming last night. Yeah. I'm not just forget about one game. I'm talking about for the chances in the playoffs when you're going to be maybe taking out. But here's the thing too, in the AFC playoffs right now. What a tweet from Andrew Siciliano last night. The standings right now. If Lawrence can't play this Sunday, that's 4 quarterbacks missing from the top 7 seeds in the AFC.
Hello. Look at the carnage in the AFC. Burrow out for the year. Lawrence could be out significant amount of time. Rodgers out for the year. Watson out for the year. Bills stink. I mean, who saw this coming? It's right there for the Colts and the Texans now.
Here's the list right now. The current updated list for the NFL across the board. Browning, although looked really good last night. Beathard, maybe. Zappe, Trubisky, Ritter, Boyle / Simeon / who the hell knows. Minshew, Levis, Flacco, Dobbs, DeVito, Aiden O'Connell. Am I missing anybody?
Oh, wow. This is lunacy.
I know it happens every year, but that's a really long list.
Now, 1 game lead over the Colts and Texans now. They swept the Colts. They split with Houston. Houston closes with Indy on the road in Week 18. You go to Cleveland Sunday. Who knows? I'm with you. Flacco looked pretty good for a guy just off the street, and they were exclusively throwing the ball and going out of shotgun. At least he can throw it, unlike Walker and DTR. Baltimore at home, no chance without Lawrence in that defense. At Tampa, Carolina, Tennessee. Definitely winnable, and certainly, again, Beathard looked good in there and knows the offense.
Yep.
And he's been in this league for a while. He was torn up about it because his best friend on the team is Lawrence. But it's just you can't lose that game. With what's on the line, the 1 seed. It was your first Monday night home game in 12 years.
And your defense comes out and plays that kind of a game. That's unacceptable. It really is.
Right. And I'll tell you what else is unacceptable. The officials continue to be the story in all these games. It must end. And they got to evaluate this. The owners need to jump in. Enough's enough. You cannot make that call on the holding call. You're deciding the game. Was it obvious? No. Was it egregious? No. That's going to be 1st and goal at the 3-yard line for Jacksonville. Beathard throws it up for grabs and catches, and Ridley catches it.
Yeah,
you cannot make that call.
Thought it was a horrible call. Thought it was a terrible call. They showed the replay over, and I'm just like, what am I missing here? You're really nitpicking in a huge moment like that. You can't do that.
What did John Madden always say? You could call holding on every play if you wanted to.
Yep.
Let the guys decide the game. Like Mahomes said, calls went against us, but I'm all for players deciding the game. Stay out of the way. No one cares or wants to see you.
Yeah. So I'm watching that game, and then was it Walker Little who stepped on Lawrence, I believe? He didn't, normally a lineman's going to get him by, the top of his shoe or maybe the bottom of his ankle. He stepped on, what was that, mid-calf? And Lawrence knew immediately. And then the way he bent backwards as well on top of it.
Yeah, I thought it was the knee.
I thought it was the whole leg at some point.
Right, the bending back.
It looked horrific.
Right.
And then, again, they had to, waddle him off the field with no help whatsoever. So as this is all unfolding, I also have future tickets on Jacksonville. But, their division chances, their playoff chances, the 1 seed, thinking about all of that, and then tying it into Circa Survivor. You're still left. It's down to 30. The movie... All the President's Men came to mind.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Nothing's nothing's on the line here.
Yeah.
Except the First Amendment of the Constitution, the freedom of the press, and maybe the freedom of the country.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Right?
One of my favorite movies. It's a great performance.
It's an unbelievable movie.
Yep.
But yeah, nothing's on the line here. We're only down to 30 people now, and those tickets go from $175,000 had Jacksonville survived last night to now each ticket is worth $300,000. And Paulie, you still have one left. This is unreal, dude.
A well-known poker player, one of the best in the world, reached out to me last week, and I took we swapped a little bit of equity. Because I'm looking at his portfolio, and I'm like, this guy's going to win. He has 2 Jacksonville, 2 Baltimore, 2 Houston. This guy's got an incredible resume still left. He used both on Jacksonville. I'm sick for the guy. And you look at this, we almost had an 80-way chop. There were 80 people going into Circa Survivor this week. 24 on the Steelers. I was one of them. Outdone. 24 on Jacksonville. Outdone. 15 on Tampa. Led by 3. Fourth quarter at home against Carolina. Chargers, 8. 6-0. Patriots ball. 5 minutes left. Driving. Rams, 5. Up 1 in the fourth quarter at home. Cowboys, tight game Thursday night. 1 person. 1 on the Saints loser. 1 on the Jets loser. 1 on the Texans. Needed a goal line stand. We almost had a chop 80. It was almost over.
Wow.
So now we're down to 30 here.
Okay.
And it's only, it's 30 entries, it's 30 people.
So here's what's happened in Survivor since Thanksgiving. Now keep in mind, Thanksgiving was the week after the Commanders had 235 people get chopped on them.
Giants at home.
235 people had the Commanders against Tommy DeVito. They lost. On Thanksgiving, it was down to 372. 216 people were on the Lions. Whacked. 149 the next week. I couldn't believe it. I still can't. 36 were on the Pats. And then 32 were on the Vikings, and they blew that game. What was that, last week on Monday Night Football?
Correct.
We're talking 10 days now. That's how many people. And then it was 80 this week, 48 combined on Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. So you went from 372 on Thanksgiving with good tickets and good entry still alive. The Lions are a 7.5-point favorite. Jacksonville, huge favorites last night.
Yep.
The Commanders the week before that, gigantic favorites, all getting whacked now. In September or early October on the air, you said we might have 500 people split this thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Dead wrong.
But look at this now, the last 10 days.
Thanksgiving, I thought we'd have a chop for about 100 and something.
Right.
I said on the air, you're not going to win significant amount of money. I go, why am I getting excited? Because you also had so many people that had 10 entries left. But it's something we'll dive into more with Mike Palm Thursday. There's a lot of dead money in this contest, and there's a lot of tomfoolery and skullduggery. There are some horrific decisions being made in this contest. It's $9 million on the line. Someone used the Jets. Someone used the Saints. What are you doing? People can't get their picks in, for God's sakes. But I was dead wrong. And to your point, you're going back, I think, 4 of the last 5 weeks, the number 1 selected team has gone out.
Yes. Yeah, huge.
So we are having carnage and chaos every single week. And we'll see how many people get to the finish line. A guy I respect made it 7.5 now. Could be too high. Who knows? I mean, but if this continues, we won't even make it to Christmas.
I was going to say, you could be the lone ticket, or I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm not even going to continue with my thought on that. But, yeah, I mean, it's down to 30 all of a sudden with 9,200 people in it. And it was looking like early in the season like you might get, who knows? I think Mike Palm at some point set the number around 100.
Sure. I mean, I totally agree with him. It's a good number.
But this is just
a good number.
Look at all these huge favorites going down, or you're playing against dead teams in theory.
Yeah.
Did the Bengals look anywhere. They look like a team that could cause some havoc in the playoffs last night.
Right, and they were so bad against Pittsburgh.
Yes.
As I talked about, if you took out the deflection that should have been intercepted that Chase caught in garbage time, they had 130 yards against the Steelers. Jeff Benson, who works here, Circus Survivor, does a great job. These games this weekend showed the Circus Survivor football contest is the absolute penultimate sweat when it comes to sports gambling. The highs, lows, last-second wins, OT theatrics. Nothing else in the world comes close, especially with $9 million up for grabs. They might get 15,000 next year for entries. I mean, this is sheer madness.
And from what I understand, of the 30 entries, it's 30 different people.
That's right.
So not a single person has 2 entries left.
Right. Yep. The guy I knew had double 2 entries left. He had Jacksonville, and there was a couple other people with 2, but they used Steelers, and obviously bye-bye.
Madness. Last night. Who would have thought going into that game, all of that coming out of it? Crazy, man.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.